This is Planet Earth, Our Loving Home on Supreme Master Television. Please stay tuned. We will resume our program featuring a presentation by Dr. Rajendra Pachauri shortly. Welcome back to Supreme Master Television's Planet Earth, Our Loving Home. We are listening to portions of a lecture given by Dr. Rajendra Pachauri, Chair of the United Nations Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, entitled Global Warming, the Impact of Meat Production and Consumption on Climate Change. The talk was presented at a conference on the environmental effects of livestock raising, sponsored by the UK non-profit group Compassion in World Farming.
But this is the way meat production has been increasing over a period of time. In 2006, farmers produced 276 million tons of meat, 5 times as much as in the 1950s. So that's a very sharp increase. And if we look at those countries where major increases have taken place, they are shown here, and of course these are not the only ones, there are others also. You see some significant changes and increases in consumption over here, which all add up to contribute to the increase that's taken place. And this data is taken from the FAO. If we look at expected trends in the livestock industry, well, estimated doubling of global production of meat up to 2050 could go from 229 million tons in 2001 to 465 million tons. And this is, of course, based on data compiled by Compassion in World Farming. So I'll run through these rather quickly because I'm sure there'll be a discussion on these. So I just skipped these numbers, and this again is from the same organization, Compassion for World Farming. This on the left-hand side lists some of the things that are being done to increase meat output, and on the right-hand side are listed some of the implications in terms of what it does, both to the animals themselves, also to what would happen to society at large. Now, what I'd like to say is there is a need for change in consumption patterns, and the reason why I'm talking about perhaps reducing meat consumption is because this is something which every individual can do. Often when one talks about climate change, in every audience there'll be somebody who asks, okay, I accept all this, but what can I do in my personal life? You can tell them about changing light bulbs, going for compact fluorescent lamps, switching off lights when you move from one room to the other, walk wherever you can rather than jump into a car, keep thermostat at a level which requires you to wear a cardigan rather than sit with a t-shirt at the peak of winter in your den in the home, and so on. But I believe that what we can do without too much effort is to reduce meat consumption. And I think that's a lifestyle change which each of us has within our powers to bring about. Reduction in the size of the livestock industry through reduced consumption is the most effective way of cutting greenhouse gas emissions. UK and US households waste around 1/3 of the food they buy. Change in consumption patterns will be required to achieve a low carbon and sustainable society. Now, the power of British consumers, what would it amount to? Well, the average household would reduce CO2 emissions by more than if they halve their meat consumption than if they halve their car usage. So, this is an important fact. A family of 4 eating a quarter-pounder beef burger each is responsible for the CO2 emissions equivalent of driving from London to Cambridge, 16 kilograms of CO2 emissions. So these are just some facts that bring out the importance and the implications of bringing about a reduction in meat consumption. If there is carbon dioxide emissions taking place as a result of the entire meat cycle, then I think that cost to society should be internalized and there should be a tax or whatever. Now, I mentioned earlier that we have 1.6 billion people in the world who don't have access to electricity. Now, we could either set up thermal power plants and, burn coal or whatever to provide this electricity. Even if we were to do that, a lot of them just can't afford getting an electricity connection to their homes. So my institute and I have launched a major program that we call Lighting a Billion Lives. And essentially, that's based on using photovoltaic technology. We've devised solar lanterns and solar torches, which incidentally have been customized to meet the needs of the rural poor in rural areas. And I think overall, what Gandhi said is relevant in every respect of actions that are required to combat climate change. Be the change you want to see in the world.
It has been our pleasure to share with you excerpts of Dr. Rajendra Pachari's important presentation that documents how the production and consumption of animal products tremendously fuels climate change here on planet Earth, our loving home. Now please stay with us for enlightening entertainment coming up after noteworthy news. May we all respect and care for our biosphere.
For more details, please visit www.suprememastertv.com/PE.